Uneven shoulders is one of the most common imbalances that people carry. You may have one of your shoulders higher right now, and that's how you came across this video. So in today's video, I'm going to explain to you why we get one shoulder higher than the other, how you can figure out which of your shoulders is out of balance, and if you watch to the end, I'll share a stretch that will help bring a lower shoulder up, a stretch that will help bring a higher shoulder down, and how you can tell which one you should be doing. Hi, I'm Catherine. I'm the founder and principal therapist at Leighton Sports Massage, an award-winning clinic in East London. In this channel, I share simple self-care tips and information about how your body works so that you can live life as painlessly as possible. In March, we are talking about being more mindful and more connected to your body. And one of the ways that we want to do this is we want to be able to be aware of different imbalances that we have. So we're talking about one of the most common imbalances, which is uneven shoulders. Now, first, we're going to talk about how you can tell if your shoulders are uneven, how you can tell if one of your shoulders is higher or one of your shoulders is lower, what that may mean as far as muscles, just quickly, and we'll finish off with a couple of stretches that you can do that will help to even you out. Now, what is a common cause for uneven shoulders? So most of the time, shoulders being uneven is down to muscle tension. There are rare other causes, and as with everything, if you have constant pain in something, you should definitely get it checked out by someone who can see you in person. But if you've just started to notice that one of your shoulders is higher than the other and you'd like to understand why, we'll be able to cover that in this video. So the first thing you want to do is you want to go and look in a mirror. And when you're looking in the mirror, you want to look at two kind of landmarks, so to speak. So one landmark is the top of your shoulders. So the top of the shoulders is where the upper traps are. And sometimes you actually don't have a shoulder higher than the other. You actually just have more muscle tension on one side, so that muscle is bigger or sticking up more. So first, look at your shoulders. If you're looking at the muscles right here, so just to get really clear, right here, this muscle, if one is higher, make a note of it. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that one shoulder is actually higher. It may just mean that you have more muscle tension in that shoulder. So how can you tell if you have more muscle tension or if it's actual difference? So what you actually want to look at is the collarbones. So you know the collarbones right here is that kind of sticky out bit. The anatomical name is clavicle. And if these are uneven, if one of these is higher than the other or lower than the other, then that is a sign that your shoulders are uneven, that the actual bones are being pulled out of alignment. You can also look at the bone here in your shoulder, the top of your humerus, the top of your arm bone, and see whether they're out of alignment. So now that you've figured out whether one of your shoulders is higher than the other, what should you do about it? Now, a lot of people, massage therapists included, often think that automatically the higher shoulder needs to be lowered. This is not always the case. If one shoulder is higher than the other, it may mean that one shoulder is actually lower than where it's supposed to be. So what you want to do is you imagine that your midline is a line up and down, and across is your collarbones. So if you do a cross like that where it's perpendicular, if one of your collarbones is higher than this imaginary line, then that means that that shoulder is higher and it needs to be lowered. If, on the other hand, one of your collarbones is lower than that imaginary line, that means that that collarbone actually needs to be lifted. So that shoulder is being pulled down by different muscles. So now go back to the mirror. Draw that imaginary line between midline and your shoulders and let me know, is one of your collarbones higher than that line? Is one of them lower? Or what can even happen is you can have one collarbone higher than that line and one collarbone lower. So far we've talked about you can have muscle tension that makes one of your shoulders look higher, or you can actually have the bone being moved by the muscles, which indicates that the whole shoulder is higher or lower. And we've talked about how you can tell whether it's actually one of your shoulders that needs to drop or whether it's one of your shoulders that needs to come up. Before we get into the stretches that you can use to adjust this, I wanted to quickly talk about the causes. Now, most muscle tension, if it's not from like a big accident or traumatic event, comes from slow, small movement patterns over time. So a lot of us are familiar with this idea of holding our shoulder up. So if you put a bag on your shoulder and you're always holding your shoulder up, you could end up with that shoulder higher. If you're doing a lot of push-ups or pushing down on things, the muscles in the side of the body can get tight, and that will start to pull your shoulder blade down and your shoulder down. So if you notice that you have an imbalance with one of these sides, you definitely want to look and figure out what is the underlying cause. Why is this imbalance developing? The reason that you want to try and understand what behaviors are creating your tension is that if you just stretch all the time without addressing the underlying cause, you're going to end up repeating it, and you may even end up with an injury because of the repetitive nature of what you're doing. So the best thing to do is to change the input as well as doing these stretches. So if you do have an imbalance in your shoulders, have a quick think. What kind of activities do you think you're doing that could either be creating tension in the top of the shoulder on one side or creating tension in the side of the body around the shoulder blade on the side that's lower? If you have an idea, definitely share it in the comments. Whenever you share something like this in the comments, it really inspires other people and gives other people ideas, because sometimes people go, I have no idea what I could be doing. And then they see in the comments, oh, carrying your backpack like this. Oh, maybe I do that. That could be it. Or swimming. Maybe I do that. That could be it. So your comments really inspire and help other people who are trying to figure out causes for why they might be having these issues in their body. So the other thing that I wanted to touch on before we talk about the stretches is this actually an issue? If your shoulders are a different height, is this actually a problem if it's not causing you any pain? Now, I think it depends on your outlook. Me personally, as a remedial massage therapist, I really like getting people in a balanced position because I think everything works better that way. But I also tread cautiously when we're looking at someone who doesn't have a problem, but they have that imbalance. Now, most of the time, an imbalance will lead to pain or discomfort down the line. For example, if you have tension that's pulling up your shoulder on one side, that will often lead to a spasm in the top of the shoulder. If you have tension, however, on the side of your body and that's pulling your shoulder down, that will often lead to a feeling of pulling or discomfort in the neck. But if you don't have that problem, think about whether or not you want to be dealing with it, or if you just want to wait and see if something happens. And that's totally up to you. So now that you know how to assess if your shoulders are higher or lower than the others, and we understand potential causes why, and you can start thinking about why it's happening and whether you want to address it, I'll quickly talk about 2 stretches that you can work on that will help. Now, a stretch is basically just lengthening out the 2 ends of a muscle gently. I have a stretching guide coming up, so definitely subscribe to the channel or like the page, whatever you're watching on, to be notified when we have that out because it goes into more detail. But stretching really should be this gentle lengthening of tissue. So if you have, for example, if you notice that your left shoulder is higher than the other, and I actually have that, my left shoulder is a little bit higher than the other, and you know that you're basically going to want to stretch this out. So you want to very gently lift your head up and out to the side, which will give you just a little bit of length while you're holding your arm down. So if you're going to let your head drop over to the side and lengthen, you don't want to let your shoulder come up with you because then you won't be getting a stretch here. But if you hold your shoulder down, just make sure it's anchored, tuck your chin in a little bit, and very gently go to the side and lengthen out, you're going to get a really nice stretch in the side of the neck and a little bit in the top of the shoulder, which is where this tension is coming from. Again, make sure that you're identifying the cause of the tension. If it's not a bag on the shoulder, it could be that your posture is forward and rounded, and so your head is having to work harder. Your neck and shoulder muscles are having to work harder to stop your head from falling forward. So stretching this will actually not be good for you if you're not addressing your posture as well. And if you need help with your posture, we do have a desk posture checklist that you can download and print out for your reference so that you can improve your posture. That is how you stretch the top of the shoulder. The next stretch is the side of the body. Now, usually if a shoulder is being pulled down, just do that. Pull your shoulder down while you're watching. You can feel the muscles that are involved. They're all in the side of your body. So a really nice, easy stretch to do if your shoulder is being pulled down is you can just lift your arm up and then just curve over gently. Now, the one mistake that people make a lot with this is they let their arm curl in. And you are getting a little bit of a side stretch through this, but you're not really getting the main muscles that you need to. So if you open, almost like you're pointing your armpit out to the world and just stretch through the side of the body, that's going to open up most of the muscles that might be pulling your shoulder down. Now, same thing as before. If you can identify the cause and it's something like you swim all the time or you do a ton of push-ups, well, with push-ups, you probably should look at your form if it's creating that much tension on the side of the body. But if it's just something that you do all the time that you can't stop doing, like pushing down on a cycle, on a bicycle, or swimming, then you're just going to have to stretch to counteract that effect. But if it's something having to do with posture or how you're carrying yourself or form in an exercise that you're doing a little bit wrong, make sure that you're fixing that before you're stretching. Because the body gets really frustrated if you just keep stretching something, but you don't address an underlying cause where there is one. Now, if you're not really sure about releasing these muscles or which muscles you need to be stretching, or maybe you'd like to bounce some ideas off of someone as far as what could be potential causes, you can definitely book in a desk worker MOT with us, or any sort of MOT if you live in London. If you don't, we do have a free Facebook group for desk workers, and we have another one for Facebook cyclists and triathletes. No, we have another one for runners, cyclists, and triathletes. So I'll link those in the description below. So you can ask to join them if you want to ask questions after you've been trying it, or definitely leave a comment in the comments. If you have any questions, definitely let me know. I would love to know if you could tell me if one of your shoulders is higher than the other, if it's the left one or the right one, if the left one's higher or the right one's higher, or the left one's lower or the right one's lower, because it would be cool to see where the averages are, like if there's most people have left shoulder higher or lower, or vice versa. And if you haven't already, subscribe to our channel and push the little bell for notifications so that you can be notified as we release new videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.